I lost my wife, passed away 18 months ago, and the lads here have been so good to me. It's been an absolute lifeline for me, this coming here.
The one thing about exercising, playing walking football regularly, is that you're not just exercising your body, you're exercising your mind.
When you get into your 60s, your circle of friends starts to narrow, especially once you stop work. Your horizons narrow potentially a little bit. But now I've got like 100 new friends.
That's really an emotional question because, well, yeah, I do it for them. I mean, originally I did it for me, and I soon realised that this is what older guys should be doing.
When walking football was invented in 2011, few would have imagined the rapid growth of the sport over a decade later. According to the Walking Football Association, there are now more than 60,000 regular players and over 1,000 clubs in the UK, one of them being Moulton Masters. But what makes this club different to any other? Senior official Brian Slater explains his story.
The sad part of my life was with my lifelong partner, Margaret. Passed away with cancer after 12 years. I looked after her for 12 years. It was a tough time for me, it really was. But life has to go on. And these guys here were amazing. I have to say, such wonderful, genuine people. The club I was with at the time also was a place called Hill Street. It was formerly Age Concern Claremont, and I used to have a kick about with the boys inside. I don't go anymore there because it's too dangerous to play indoors. I sustained broken ribs and an Achilles injury, and I left there to concentrate on my refereeing around the country. I'm going to be facilitated in a lot of the events around the country. I have to say this club have been marvellous to me with my wife. We did a testimonial round robin. I cannot believe the generosity from the players. We raised £1,500 for the fund. That was not just for Margaret, it was for another member as well. But the money was coming out their pockets, £20 notes. I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. They don't know her. But I was so gratified by everything. I just can't thank them enough.
Another victor from the emergence of Moulton Masters is 65-year-old Steve Batchelor.
I needed to do something more active in life, and my daughter suggested I come and try Moulton. So I phoned Phil Andrews, the chairman, and the first sessions were actually played in Danes Camp Leisure Centre on a basketball court, and with like 3 or 4 aside. But since we were at Moulton, obviously it's expanded considerably. I had heart problems anyway, so I needed to keep moderate exercise, but I had a bad heart attack a couple of years ago and needed quadruple heart surgery, so I'm now just coming back to walking football again after an 18-month absence. And the thought of playing again was one thing that kept me going through rehabilitation, that I could possibly one day play football again. So here I am, and I'll play as long as I possibly can. We've had players at 80, so that's my next ambition.
You might not have got a phone call from Thomas Tuchel, but how did Steve go on trial for England?
We have a community in walking football that use WhatsApp groups and various means of communication, and they actually advertise for potential players for an over-70s team. And they didn't even have an over-70s team at that time, but Phil, the manager here, spoke to myself and Dave Paul, our goalkeeper, and said, you two guys should go down. You're of a standard that might get you included. So I drove down to a place in Essex, I can't quite remember the ground, but near Romford, and the pitch was an enclosed pitch, so we're playing 6 aside, but the ball never went out of play, so it's a very fast and continuous game. But I thought I did pretty well because I played 3 games and scored 4 goals, and we won every game. But Dave obviously did a lot better than me because he only conceded 1 goal all day. And eventually, of course, Dave did get picked up for England. I got invited back for a second trial, but after that, nothing materialised. But so I had to realise my England ambitions were dashed. But by then, I wasn't starting to feel too well, so it was probably just as well.
Moulton welcomed walking football to the club in 2018. But what was the thinking process behind the decision? Vice Chairman Dave Conway explains.
So initially we started a session ourselves as a club before we built the 3G artificial pitch, which was back in 2018. So probably the year before that, we started some sessions here on the grass. And they were a bit hit and miss, but then walking football was quite early in its infancy. So attracting people actually was probably harder in those initial days than it would be now, for example. So it was a little bit hit and miss on the grass. And then, so that probably was 2017. So following that, in 2018, we installed the 3G pitch here at Moulton. And at the time, there was a group of players who Phil Andrews was connected to, were playing at Moulton School on the Hockey Astro, and they were looking for to see whether they could rent a session with us. The reason we started to talk with Phil was we would have some sessions because it helps to fund what we're doing on the 3G pitch. But actually, the more we got into conversation with him, it was obvious that we shouldn't just rent them a session, but we should try and talk to them about becoming club members, because that was a way that we could develop the walking football at the club. So it was probably initially about 15 of them that we actually had here on the opening day back in August in 2018. And from there, it's grown now to what you see, which we've probably got about 140 members involved.
The club wouldn't be what it is today without owner and founder Phil Andrews. But how did a car accident bring him to the sport?
Well, I first heard of it about 10 years ago when a friend of me walked up to me and he said, "Phil, there's a sport's been invented just for you." And I went, "Right, okay. What's this all about?" And he said, "It's called walking football." Now, I have to go back 10 years, or 8 years before then. I had a really bad car crash, hit head on, and I was coming up to play at Moulton. In fact, just about 100 yards over there was a pitch at the school. I played there every Monday night with my works team. And on my way there, some idiot was on the wrong side of the road trying to overtake 5 cars at the same time. He smashed into me and broke both my legs. And my ankle has not been right since. So it's a life-changing injury. And my right ankle's fused, so there's no way I could run. There's no way I could take an impact on it. So I had to give it up. And I was still playing at the age of 50. So to then be told, so 8 years after that I could play football again, well, it was a mixture of disbelief, excitement, apprehension. You couldn't begin to understand all the range of emotions you're going through.
After a few years of walking football, what motivated Phil to form his own club?
The story of me is that I never got in my school team, but I played with mates at school. I played at the park with mates. I played everywhere. I played in the army for quite a few years and the Royal Air Force. That's another story. And never been the best player, but I just love the sport and I love the people who play it. And when I heard about this sport, I thought, yeah, I'll go along, give it a try. So I went to a few different places, but either they decided not to play all the rules, like they didn't like the walking rule, which is quite fundamental. They wanted to run. They wanted to really tackle hard, and that wasn't the ethos of the sport. And some of them, they didn't want to play the no overhead height. Well, if you had a head injury, a brain injury, or an eye injury, or you wear glasses, no way do you want to play the overhead rule. So you really want safety and rules. And so I thought, after I tried it a few different places, I thought, I'm going to form my own club with guys who would just follow the rules. And that's been our ethos. So if anyone wants to come along and try and do slide tackles or try and play as they did, 20, 30, 40 years ago, then we'll say, look, sorry, this club's not for you.
From 5 players and a dog to over 100 members at the club, Moulton Masters will continue to prolong the player.